city spare a couple water bottles at these meetings, or is that?
Sure,
I'm sorry, yeah, I should do that. I'm a bad host. I apologize.
Thank you. I'm gonna come from a breed of thirsty people. I mean, beers would be fine too, but.
BYOW
On
round.
that note, looks like it's 4 o'clock. So we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. No executive session, there was only 2
Oh, here
people.
come
That's,
people.
Project committee. Anyone here for public comment?
Hey, Ben.
All right, so seeing no one for public comment, we'll go to the approval of meeting minutes of September 20th of 2023. There was no October meeting. Any additions or corrections to the minutes as distributed? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve? So moved. Or second?
Second, then you need to go on the microphone.
Oh, yeah, sorry, we are live, I'm sorry. I so forgot to tell you that.
Moving second, any further discussion? All in favor, give your consent by saying aye.
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 Opposed? So ordered. Financial report.
It is in your packet, our cash position, our typical cash position sheet. Sorry for the small font, and we are adding more accounts receivable, which is great, which means we have a lot of deals that are happening right now. But you will see the very bottom number. Essentially, current cash available is 280,000. Our cash forecast with all the AR is 631. So we're,
What's available, meaning what's not spoken for?
what's not out, you're right, exactly.
Sorry, go ahead.
So it's essentially what's total bank accounts at the top grouping minus the accounts payable of the 129 that we keep carrying for the guy that never cashed his check. Gives us a current cash available.
And we paid the 125 already for Dutch Fly?
Actually, 200 at this point,
So, okay.
yeah. And that, you'll see that there as an accounts receivable. And then on your agenda, you will see, again, that all the account fund balances, and then the CDBG balances, which are accurate as of yesterday, stabilization, demolition, and acquisition. The first column on your left are all the previous allocations, and then the column on the right is what's allocated. I call it next year, but it's 2023. So it's the federal fiscal year that started October. So it's, all told, there's 400 and some thousand dollars there. Now, what I will tell you also is that the Housing Bureau has presented their CDBG allocations to council for their approval, and the committee that reviewed all of the applications has decided not to fund the RDA for the next 3 years because the RDA is sitting on 273,000 from prior years, plus another 220 for next year. So
We'll have this 500.
we have this now, it's already allocated. Correct, yeah.
Are we able to shift any of those items?
We are, yes, and I have and Tammy and I keep scheduling meetings, and they keep getting shifted. We can allocate those across categories.
And is that 3-year decision, I mean, is that set in stone? Or like, if, say, for example, if we go through this money in a year and a half, can we go back and say, you know, we spent what we had, can we have more allocated to us?
I believe that we could, but I'm not going to firmly answer that one way or another right now.
Any other questions? All right, the presentation line, is that for something other than the action items, or?
Yeah, it's just a blank holder there. There's nobody scheduled to present.
All right, do we want to move the 100 group up here?
Oh, we certainly can. It'll put my packet out of order. I'm sorry,
For C, there we go. Yeah, just in the interest of, since they're here, if we can just move them up and,
yeah.
so the West Market Street option exercise, for 462, 464 West Market.
Right, and you'll see in your packet, there is an executive summary that Becky Hunter put together for us, and it is very nice, and I think I emailed this out to the board. But you will see that and this is something very, very similar to what we had spoken about when we exercised the first option a few years ago. The plan there is for 15 ADA accessible units for seniors, focused mostly on the impoverished, and would also include one hot full meal per day, rear parking for 7 cars, medical and transportation services, home health care checkups, and wellness programs in partnership with WellSpan. This is a very exciting use for this project, and they have or will be forming a partnership with BFW Construction Project Managers and RB Development as well. You'll see on the last page or the third page, this is about a $3.1 million project. And they've got I think, a great plan put together. It's a matter of securing all the financing and moving forward. I did receive a draft redevelopment agreement from their council, and there's only 1 or 2 things that we are need to negotiate with yet. One of which being who the redevelopment agreement is actually signed with. All of our options have been with the Hunter Group. However, they are applying, they and their partners are applying for a grant this Friday. And that grant will be applied for by RB Development Group. So it would make more sense and be cleaner if the option or the redevelopment agreement was with RB Development Group. So that is a change from our existing option. It's still an affiliated entity of the Hunter Group. And that's why you'll see I have written in C there the authorization to execute the option and negotiate a redevelopment agreement with the Hunter Group or its affiliated designee for the property at West Market Street.
So your project seems to be pretty heavily reliant on ARPA grant. That's a New York City ARPA grant?
We are,
Becky, you can come up to the mic so people at home can hear you.
I'm sure we have a big audience watching.
There might be 3.
good afternoon. We are definitely looking for that grant, but we are exploring other options as well.
And that is city?
Yes, yes.
So you're looking for some other backup plan?
Yes, we are.
In case the full amount of that is not.
Right, we're trying to raise as much money as possible, of course, through grant, but we're trying to do as minimal hard money, hard loan money as possible. So we are looking at other options as far as grants go.
No, I understand that the ARPA funds have not been committed yet. Or any of these funds, have they been committed, or are they still just kind of an application?
Well, initially, when we had started this project, we had gotten the $200,000 from the fair grant, and then we lost it because we missed 2 cycles. We weren't going to do the project, and now we are. So we have to reapply for that, but now we're going after the whole $400,000 that we had originally went after. So that's due Friday. And then we met with Kim Hoagman for the demo money. So I know that's a reimbursement grant, so we would pay for that up front, and then, of course, they would reimburse us for the structural demo, and to secure it. I wish Ryan was here so he could kind of talk about the grants a little bit more. But I mean, of course, the ideal situation would be to get the home ARPA money, or a portion of that. But if we can't, then we'll go after other options.
What's the, so I guess the terms are to be negotiated then as far as construction starting this date?
Yeah, because they had, and quite frankly, I was trying to be a little more generous. I think what Mika had sent on your redevelopment agreement had a completion date at like 1.5 years or 2 years from now. And that seemed aggressive to me, just out of fairness to you.
I'm wondering, and this might be a little, if I could call Ryan, because he's in Philadelphia. He was going to try to make it, and he could speak to that. But we're hoping if we can get the grants in place, he was hoping to get shovel to dirt in 2024. So
Great.
even if we had to, wait for some grant money to come down, we would pay it up front, and then, the grant would reimburse any of the money that we got, as a loan. So that's the way we were thinking to do it.
And then the only other thing that really needed to be negotiated was the purchase price. The redevelopment agreement came through proposing $2,000. And they're, internally, the RDA project committee had talked about $10,000. This is a big shell of a building, but it's empty and has no floors. And then ironically, the sources and uses that's in your packet has acquisition of $15,000. So I think we can end up at 10 and be happy with that. And I'd be fine with that because it's such a good project. I have no idea what the RDA paid for it when it took the property 15, 20 years ago. But I'm just glad that somebody's willing to take it on. And as I had explained to their attorney, our fee for acquisition doesn't occur until settlement at the end of the project. So you essentially hold on to it and do all the work and pay the acquisition at the end.
Right.
As odd as that sounds. Other than that, the only other thing that's would be a rush is if this passes now, I'll communicate with their attorney, and I'll have to get our chairman's signature by tomorrow or Friday in order so that they have it to apply for their grant.
Right. We had decided we needed it to transfer to BW, the development group, RB Development, because we need to show site control, and it's, they are the major partner moving forward with this project. We hold a less of a percentage in partnership, and they've been doing this for a while. They're working on a project in Harrisburg, $19 million project, same kind of project, with 65 units. So we feel comfortable in making them the lead on this project.
And they're a potential source of funds if there's a shortfall?
They would be the ones securing the funds if we had to go for the hard money, the bank loan, whatever. So they would be the ones that would be securing it. That's why they're taking the lead on the project.
Any other questions from the board?
Thank you, boss. I have a question or two. So the number of units is exciting. Obviously, we need more affordable housing in New York. The dollar amount of capital projected to be invested is exciting also. So I think we all wish you success.
Thank you. Mhm.
I see the ownership of the entity isn't perhaps exactly crystallized yet, but it looks like it's going to be, well, I'm not sure exactly who it's going to be from this, but it looks like there's some not-for-profit organizations and some private organizations. I'm curious what the ultimate owner of the property is going to be. Are they going to be a for-profit company that pays real estate taxes?
We are forming once we get this rolling, we will be forming a single-purpose LLC. So that will be the for-profit. So I'm going to answer your questions and say yes, we will be paying taxes there because the nonprofit will be operating the business that operates inside the building.
Okay, so the entity, or whichever ones are mortgages,
Yes,
and the benefit accrues to a private group.
right. That's right.
So so that makes sense. So your belief is that there would ultimately be real estate taxes paid to the city, the county, and the school district.
Yes.
Does that sound?
Yeah, this is not too dissimilar. I mean, the operation is not too dissimilar to what Becky and Xavier do now at Hunter Cottage over at Cottage at Duke. And they are a full tax-paying property. a significant amount of tax-paying
Yeah.
property.
Yeah, that part.
So would this be an applicant for like a LERTA or one of those?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so like a 10 years,
10-year phase-in of taxes, so it's
but
10%
ultimately
per year.
paying full taxes.
Right.
Well, then I'm officially excited about their project in 3 ways.
Yeah, the goal is senior housing with affordable senior housing with supportive services. So I'm pretty sure that we're doing the Section 811 funding for those supportive services. So we need to be, I'm pretty sure we need to be nonprofit with that. And then on that piece, we'll be partnering with the Housing Authority, who would manage the HUD piece as far as the paperwork and all of that goes. So so it's gonna be like affordable housing with supportive services. So, you know, the nonprofit, I'm pretty sure definitely we will be running the supportive services piece through the nonprofit. So, and we will be applying for grant for that, Section 811 monies as well. So, you know, there's grant money for that as well. So, and we need to do that through the nonprofit. So the Hunter Group is the nonprofit that will be running that part of the program. So the single-use occupancy, or the single-use LLC would be the for-profit that we form. But for starters, we need to get it under Redevelopment. So everything is, you know, it's congruent. It's all the same. You know, we're running under the same name, because it kind of got a little messy the last time, and we don't want that to happen this time. So Redevelopment needs to show, you know, that they have the property secured in order to get the grant from FAIR.
Any other questions?
Not a question, but as a side note, that fair grants due at 3 o'clock on Friday.
Yeah.
I didn't hear what you said, Joyce.
The fair grants due at 3 o'clock on Friday.
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
All right, any other questions? All right, hearing none, is there an authorization to execute the option and negotiate a redevelopment agreement with the Hunter Group or its affiliated designee for the property of 462, 464 West Market Street?
So moved?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, give their consent by saying aye.
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 I abstain, a very warm, friendly abstention, but my partner Mika Driscoll is their counsel, including in this property, so I will abstain from the vote.
So I believe we're good. All right, motion carries. Good luck. South George Street option request.
Yes, this is the first one in your packet. It's 3 pages stapled together, is a brief summary of what was provided by Affordable Housing Advocates. And on your agenda, there's a typo. It's 324 and 326, not 324 to 324. And I have an image. I thought I had an image. Well, you have it in front of you. Here it is on the screen. So, I had coffee weeks ago with, I'm sorry, Joyce, what's Richard's title? Director of Real Estate Development. And we were talking about great ideas and ways that we could help with affordable housing. And we together came up with this concept of building a unit that would have potentially retail on the first floor, and an accessory dwelling unit on the back above a garage. And like a week later, Richard sent me this. I was blown away. This is exactly what I'd love to see happen. This is on a vacant lot on South George Street that the RDA has owned for several years and has a fence around it. I'm sorry, I meant to pull that up to show you a current vision of it. You're welcome. So this is actually 2 lots. It looks like one big wide lot, but it's actually 2 lots. And just looking around the neighborhood there, it's right as you enter into the city. There's always been kind of first floor glass retail along this block. And, then we start to transition into the housing areas. before we get to the downtown central business district. And so it's always been my vision that there's no reason why these can't be retail first floor. Having the ability to have an owner-operator entrepreneur that actually lives in their own retail or above their retail space is kind of the way that cities were built. You know, the butcher and the barber lived upstairs, but we have very few of that happening right now in our city, mostly due to the costs. So if we have the ability for someone to own a building and run their office or lease it, it actually could provide an income source for somebody, and it's a great opportunity to take somebody and really lift them up and make them a successful, not only a successful business owner, but a successful resident. So I love this. I would build this over and over again throughout the city. This is just a great, and hopefully they can get the funding for it.
As we discussed at project committee last week with the rest of the board, there's a couple other parcels we own in along this corridor also where something like this is successful. We got some opportunity to add some more similar units into this area as well. Not to mention some others that are independently owned that are set up the same way, such as the one that Blanda showed there on the other side of the alley where there was, you know, a storefront at one time.
That still is. There's a barber shop there,
Yeah, that's
or a hair salon.
South George is littered with properties like that where this model could, you know, really take off at.
I like the fact that it's also in very close proximity to other commercial storefronts, especially the northernmost parcels. Look like, wasn't that like George's Stationery was over there?
That
And
was an RDA property years ago, actually, and then the, what is it, a pawn shop that went in?
it's like a pawn shop, it's like, yeah.
Yeah, that's actually adjacent to, and next week, the bids will go out for 308 South George. We have a grant for for fixing this property instead of demolishing it. So I'll have that going out on the street for bids, next week to rehab this one, put the new roof on and rebuild the back porch. This one, was torn down, right before I came to the city.
We own that also, right?
And we own this one, yeah, the RDA owns this one, but you can see the back of this has some major renovations that need done. So I'm hoping to rebuild that, and save that property, rather than demolish it. But if it does come to the point where the bids come in outrageously high, we have no choice but to demolish it. This infill, like is shown on this drawing, would be a great replacement.
Is there another vacant storefront there, I guess?
Yeah, this is Derek Dilk's building. Yeah, I think he owns all three, maybe. Yeah,
So that's three storefronts there, then, isn't it?
yeah.
And two of them are vacant.
I don't know how current this is. This is a picture from November of '21, but I'm not aware of anything that's in here. Yeah. So we have a really good opportunity here to extend the retail down as it should be.
It would just be the beginning in that area.
That's correct.
And as you go down to the Florida, Frank will probably remember there was a sub shop that was one of the boards owned, like in the middle of the block. There's a barber shop next to that, a former barber shop. Looks like another former vacant storefront or vacant former storefront. There's several there, like I said, throughout the 300 and 400 block, and that really could be a thing.
I believe the RDA owns this lot too.
All right. Somebody looking for a motion?
Are there any other questions? Yes, is there a motion to execute enter into a one-year option agreement for parcels located at 324, 326 South George Street for the development of mixed-use affordable housing with advocates for a $500 option fee?
So made.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, give their consent by saying aye.
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 Abstain.
Opposed? And abstention? So ordered. South Queen Street option exercise.
This is the next image that's in your packet with the beautiful house on the corner. Affordable Housing Advocate has had this under option for, gosh, probably a year and a half at this point now. And received and secured funding to construct the property that you see there in your printout, which, again, another absolutely excellent visual.
That literally is, it does not look like, it looks like there's a house there.
I know, right? Yeah, it really is. It's a well done drawing, but it's also a beautiful floor plan and great design. And they're ready to move forward. In fact, they have a groundbreaking scheduled for November 30th at 11:30. So put it on your calendars, 11:30, 11:30. And I think, and I have the actual image here too.
So this is across from the old bus station.
It is.
Wow, that's gonna be an improvement.
Yeah, it's really a gateway into the city coming up Queen Street, and it's just, it's. We do, yes. Yeah, next to the log cabin. The owner of the log cabin has said that he wants to buy this lot, so that the log cabin has a yard, but he has not made any movement whatsoever. That could be it would fill up the corner, yeah. Yeah. And I know that the gas station is under option agreement as well, or under a sales agreement right now as well, and so that will be dressed up. Yeah.
All right, any questions? Hearing none, is there a motion to authorize to execute the option and negotiate a redevelopment agreement with Affordable Housing Advocates for the property at 254 South Queen? Cost?
Good question. It's an option agreement. Sorry, yeah, it's a $500 option agreement for 1 year.
So
Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. The option exercise for we did not talk about a cost. We will negotiate that in our redevelopment agreement. Cost to be determined or negotiated.
Was that a motion?
Yes, sir.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain?
Abstention? So ordered. Property donation.
If you recall, we were talking for several months now about acquiring the old Think Loud properties that the RDA sold to them, which were not developed. And we were able, in fact, I just received the recorded deeds last week that they are now owned by the RDA, thanks to the heavy lifting of the Land Bank Authority, who purchased them on our behalf at the tax sale because they were unpaid taxes that were not paid. As we look at the neighborhood, and this is a little bit of a continuation of the efforts of the Complete Communities Initiative that Nona had brought to the city, we've been working a lot with the Northeast Neighborhood Association, or NENA, and as you may or may not be aware, they run Crystal's Place on Chestnut Street, which is their neighborhood center, and that's right here. And they also have Crystal's Place Food Pantry behind it, which is a community garden of sorts where they grow food for the neighborhood. So it's kind of the ideal model of what should happen with a neighborhood community center run by some amazing volunteers. And these two lots happen to be directly behind it. In our discussions with them, with Crystal's Place, they would like to have more space. They would like to do picnic pavilion, maybe expand their garden, have a better place for food pickups for their lack of a better word, clients, the people that come and looking for their services. So we had this thought, and this is something Sheree and I had discussed before she left, is why don't we just let them have this as a great space for them to grow into. You could, of course, build housing here, because we're always looking for infill housing opportunities. But in this case, the green space, I think, serves the community better than anything else.
You can see the density there in that area from that visual, you can really see it for, infill housing. Yeah, it's nice to have property back in taxable, but, the density is something to consider also. That's some welcome green space, in my opinion, in that area.
And they would also like us to remove these. A couple of years ago, staff had this idea of putting these concrete barriers around, which does not look good. It's not inviting. It's not safe for kids. It does keep people from parking there, well, somewhat. But Looks like the neighbor figured out how to move them. But yeah, we'll work with our Public Works Department and remove those so that this can become a nice green space, which backs right up to things that are happening right here at Crystal's Place.
Any questions, comments? All right, so we have a motion to authorize staff to donate 2 vacant parcels located at 215, 217 East Walnut Street to the Northeast Neighborhood Association for their use as green space and community garden expansion.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. Grant submission authorization.
This is just a formality that I wanted to add to the agenda to make sure that the RDA was aware. The RDA was invited to apply for an industrial sites reuse program grant for environmental assessment and remediation. This is it's actually the exact same grant that the RDA used working with Penrose Properties for the State Street development. So the developer will hire an engineer and any kind of a abatement remediation company to do the work. It flows through the RDA as the title owner of the property, because then it becomes a grant. If the developer would purchase the property, it would only be offered as a loan from the state. So by the RDA holding title, we have the ability to receive grant funds to redevelop and do environmental cleanups, essentially. The grant is up to $1 million with a 25% match requirement, which the developer will fund. Same thing that happened with Penrose Place at State Street property. So the developer pays the invoice, sends it to me. I would submit it to the state for reimbursement, and they send us a check for 75% of that amount. I then forward that 75% check over to the developer as reimbursement. It's a really good program. It's one of the easiest to run through in the state. But at the front end, it's run by the state DCD and DEP in conjunction, which is just really a great way to do things up there. So right now, we're talking with DEP to approve the work scope that would happen at the West College Avenue property. And once we get the approval from DEP, then we are authorized to submit to DCED for the $1 million grant. So I just wanted to have a motion in our minutes that the RDA approves the submission of the grant.
Hearing none, is there a motion to authorize staff to submit an application and work scope for an industrial sites reuse program grant for environmental assessment and remediation to PA-DCED, PA-DEP in conjunction with York Realty Partners LLC for West College Avenue?
So moved.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor, give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. Environmental assessment proposals.
This is a follow-up to that motion. We did receive, or I did receive, proposals from Element Environmental to do hazardous materials assessment, which is lead-based paint and asbestos materials throughout the West College Avenue site, for doing a soils groundwater assessment and Act 2 clearance, for doing a very specific GPS-enabled utility mark-out, and then assisting with the ISRP grant for $1,000. So just authorization to execute those proposals, funding provided by York Realty Partners.
Any questions? Is there a motion to authorize staff to execute proposals provided by Element Environmental for hazardous materials assessment, soils groundwater assessment and Act 2 clearance, utility markout, and ISRP grant assistance in conjunction with York Realty Partners LLC for West College Avenue?
So moved.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor, give their consent by saying aye.
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 Opposed? So ordered. Late certifications and declaration of taking.
Okay, we haven't had these for a while, but we have Monty McMillan is here, who is our blight coordinator for the city. And the city had certified, the city's blight task force, vacant property review committee, and planning commission have all certified as blighted 12 properties. Of those 12 that were certified, 5 of them appealed that, that certification. So they are scheduled to go in front of the Consolidated Board of Appeals of the city, hopefully in December, to be heard. The other 7 who did not appeal are accurately through the process and are in front of you today for your certification and passing of a resolution to start the process of single property taking or eminent domain file for a taking of them. So I have a packet that's in your packet with which is Monty's cover page for all of these. Monty's able to ask any questions about them. I went through all of these properties, and the only challenge or only problem that I have with any of these properties is that the ownership changed on 701 York Street literally 2 days, 3 days after the city sent the certified letter notifying them of blight. So the city is aware, we are aware of an ownership change, and that owner, the new owner, needs to be notified as well. Is that correct, Don? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Never used to talking in public. Yes, that's my advice.
Okay. So, do you wish to walk through each one of these properties, or would you like to take those as a slate? I do have pictures of all of them, and Monty is here to ask any questions.
Could we maybe just know, like, what are lots, what are structures here?
Yeah, I can, in fact, I have pictures here from Monty's letters that he sent, and I can walk you through all of those. The first one is 21 North Pine, which is just north of Market Street, a row of garages that leads up to Market Street would be on your right, and on your left would be the back of the little shopping plaza at Pine in Philadelphia. This is a row of properties we've had trouble with for years. Some vagrants, cats. One of these full garages was full of cats. It's owned by a gentleman, I think he's in Maryland, and the unpaid taxes date back to 2015 in the amount of $21,000. So it's a rough building, and something needs to be done with it. Monty, anything else you want to add about it?
I think we received about 3 or 4 calls from people who are interested in buying it and redeveloping it.
So it is salvageable?
Yes, it can be.
Oh, it's got a nice strip of parking too. So that'll attract a developer. And that between Philadelphia and Market?
Yeah.
So then you're stating that the owner has been notified and he's surrendering this for blight?
We have received nothing from the owner.
I think surrendering might not be an accurate word.
Okay.
Not actively appealing,
Not
which also could mean they have no idea this case exists.
Yeah.
And you can see also on Monty's cover sheet there's no sewer refuse service. There are no gas utility, no water. And the fire department has issued what we call a red X, a no entry sign on it. It's unsafe structure.
Bland, if both you and Monty have been through each and every one of these properties and attest to their condition
Not through, because they're not ours. We've been around,
around,
yes.
well, if you guys both attest to the fact that they're all blighted,
Yes.
Yes.
you don't
The
need to
next
spend too
one
much time
on the
it.
packet or on your agenda is 601 Madison, which is otherwise known as the former Manitou Building, or Madison Street School. Again, per Monty's list, there's no electric, there's no water, there's no gas service. At the time of the letter and the blight certification, there were taxes owed. However, in my review, on November 1st, the taxes are showing at 0, so somebody did pay the taxes on them. But it has been, it is an attractive nuisance to children, a fire hazard, and dangerous to the neighborhood.
So was the owner, did they respond to the notification?
No, I haven't received anything from the owner.
And this is owned by a corporation, I believe, in California.
Yes,
Yes.
I know the owner, that's why I'm asking.
Okay, there you go.
So it is safe to assume there was no response from the owners on these 7? Like the 5 were contested and these 7 were kind of just,
Well, according to this list now that we just found out, there was one, 344 South Pershing Avenue. The lady did do a appeal, so that one can get scratched. But all the rest of these we haven't seen.
for South Pershing?
Yes. That's Nadine Grimm.
Okay. The next property on the list is 701 York Street. This is the one that the owner changed. So Don, is it appropriate for this body to certify it as blighted? Because we're certifying the property, not the owner? Or do we need to certify, start over after the letter?
Got to start over.
Okay.
The owner, the new owner needs to get all of those notices.
Gotcha. The one after that is 110 West Cottage Place, which I believe Mr. Black is familiar with. Which was a house that was demolished and we had issues, the city had issues with the demolition contractor. But it is, there is one odd building that remains in the back here.
These weeds are much higher now.
In-law quarters.
Yes, it is.
It's a she shed. Comes with a she shed. Good point. That one, obviously, there's no utility connection. I did check the taxes. The taxes have been paid. However, it still remains a nuisance property for the neighborhood. And next on the list is a vacant lot at 38 East South Street. This was a property that collapsed, was demolished, emergency demolition by the city, and the city paid to have this new wall installed on the adjoining property. This property, 38 East South, was also just up for tax sale. It still owes taxes going back to 2020. So it is tax delinquent for a period of 2 years, and obviously an accumulation of trash and debris, and a haven for rodents and vermin. And then the next property, you said Nadine Grimm did appeal?
Yes, she did do it.
Okay. And that one, just FYI, is a 344 South Pershing, right on Penn Park. This was a hoarding situation. Is why that property was condemned. But there's also a very bad rear yard to it as well. So she will have an appeal coming up whenever that board meets. And then the last one that I have is 420 West Princess, which is owned by the American Hepatitis Association, which is actually really close to the Hope Street Garden project, just for a kind of a point of reference. It's missing windows, and I do have a picture of the front of it. It's been cited several times for code violations and issues, and corner property like that just needs some TLC. So that is all of the properties up for blight certification and potential taking.
All right, any further questions? for a motion to certify the 5 properties as blighted.
Correct.
Six.
Well, we can't do
Oh, well,
York
five,
and one
yeah, 'cause
appealed.
The one we can't
Yeah.
do, yep, 5 then.
So for 21 North Pine, 601 Madison, 110 West Cottage, 38 East South, 420 West Princess.
Correct.
Do we have a motion?
So
Are we
moved.
combining that together as one
Can we do
motion,
those all as one motion, Don?
or can we do it separately?
You can do it separately if you have some thoughts about,
Do you have a preference to?
yeah.
All right, we'll go one by one.
I think that's a good idea. No. You can do all 5 on a motion to certify as bladed. I think the discussion that,
So during further discussion, we can,
Yeah.
yeah, we can talk about
gotcha.
eminent domain afterward.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Further discussion.
Yes, the property at 601 Madison, that gentleman happens to be a client of ours. And my concern is that he can be litigious. And I don't want to jeopardize the RDA in a position that we've already experienced with a former property that we've had. And so I would think that at that one right there, we would hold off until we actually got a response from the owner, or a response. I can provide that number, but I think we should at least do that due diligence because of just the circumstances of that individual.
Okay. Point of order, I suggested that we do the 2 motions separately. The certification of blight is just a certification of blight. The second motion that I think you're getting to is whether or not we exercise eminent domain. And I agree with you 100% on that property for that issue. But my suggestion is we go through the certification of blight of the 5 properties, and then we talk about eminent domain.
Nona, did you have something? Okay. So where were we? Oh, motion to certify as blighted. Do we have a motion in a second?
Yeah, I did a motion.
Yes.
That's right, we had further discussion. All in favor, give their consent by saying aye.
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 Opposed? So ordered. So I guess then we would have a second motion for the taking.
Right.
How do you recommend we do that, omitting the,
Well, somebody, no, just somebody should, oh, I see what you're saying. Well, then, let's take them one at a time.
Well, and also, I think, Don, if I'm not wrong, we can make the motion to do the taking, but not actually do the taking either. We have that, it's happened on 30 South Howard on the condo project. The RDA passed the motion to file the declaration, but didn't actually do it yet because it's $1 million property.
Well, the eminent domain code allows an authority to do a pre-condemnation walkthrough inspection. And we can take engineers, appraisers, and everybody else that we want to. We never do it for the Garden Variety Row House because it isn't worth it. But this might be worth it.
So does
So I
the-
think if we're only talking 5 motions, we can bang through it. And I think this is going to be the only one that's of concern, right?
So to do a pre-condemnation walkthrough, do you need the motion to file the condemnation but not actually file it? Or do you just not do the motion at all?
I'm not 100% sure, so the safest way to handle that answer is to just not move to condemn. Agreed. That property.
Gotcha.
So if everybody's okay, why don't you authorize the declaration of taking to be filed at 1, 4, 5, and 7.
Question, after however we vote, does it go to another level?
No.
I was trying to remember the spreadsheet you gave us. Okay.
is there a motion for the declaration of taking for 21 North Pine, 110 West Cottage, 38 East South, and 420 West Princess?
So moved.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor, give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
All right.
Authorization to sponsor event.
Yeah, the last 2 pages, maybe 3 pages in your packet are a new event that's being held by the Cumberland County Redevelopment Authority.
Mark Schimmer.
It is the inaugural Cumberland County Development Conference called Reinvesting in Redevelopment, which is next April. And I would like your permission to help sponsor the event for $250. It includes 2 tickets and our logo on all of their marketing and promotion material. So I think it's just a good way to get our name out there
our logo?
and to support another redeveloper entity.
Any questions?
Do we have a logo?
We kind of do. We have that orange house thing that it was done Matthew Jackson days, maybe.
No. So it's not really attractive enough to screen onto T-shirts or anything?
If you want a shirt, I'll get you one for Christmas.
Well, I only wear red at Christmas, not orange.
All right, is there a motion to authorize staff to submit payment to Cumberland County Redevelopment Authority for a bronze sponsorship of $250 for their April 9th, 2024 conference, Reinvesting in Redevelopment?
So moved.
Second?
Further discussion? All in favor, give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. Staff report?
Not a lot to talk about that we haven't already covered, other than Penn Market. We had some really good meetings with the vendors over the past couple of weeks. We're to the point where we're actually showing them diagrammatic schematic and letting them pick their location or their preferred location where they want their stand to be located. And then we're working with them on the actual size of their refrigeration cases and the actual placement of their sinks, and really now getting into the details, working with the vendors. We've gotten great feedback from them. In fact, I just got another version of the layout yesterday, and we're to the point now where we're talking about should the trash room be on the left corner of the building or the right building, you know, really, really into the details, which is fabulous. The architect that's working on it is Hugh Boyd. Hugh's in northern New Jersey, suburban New York, and is nationally known for his work on farmers markets, which is fabulous. And he's been spending some time in York, and sent me it was really nice. He sent me an email privately, just raving about how much he enjoyed his time in York. Woke up in the morning, went to market on a Saturday, and then stayed that day and went up to Central Family Restaurant for breakfast on Sunday, and just loved our architecture. Love the fact that our new builds were not trying to fake history, and it really thinks that York gets it. So that was nice to hear from a famous architect, quote unquote. So that's moving along really well. The other interesting thing is the demand for vacant lots. I've had a lot of been working with a few developers on ideas for new builds, not dissimilar to what we saw today. The interesting thing is that housing or material prices are starting to come down a little bit. And some of the developers that I'm working with are actually nice enough to share their internal numbers with me. So I'm seeing how much things are costing, and we're trying to figure out a way, how can the RDA provide assistance to a developer who wants to build, or what can we do to make things happen quicker, better? So it's been really exciting. Lots going on. That's about all that I have.
All right, anything else for the good of the order?
One question. Update, perhaps I missed it. Update on Northwest Triangle. When do they break ground on the first phase?
They have been telling me a March groundbreaking, but they also in the same meeting said they like to underpromise and overdeliver. So I'm hoping it'll be sooner than March. Hard to do a groundbreaking over the winter, but they have been working with, their designs are complete. The city has not received them yet for codes review, but they, as far as I know, are on schedule for a March groundbreaking.
And their financing's in place, we believe?
That I'm not sure, but yeah, they have no concerns about their financing. They were just trying to decide if, do they play the interest rate, or do they take it out of the bank? So they're just trying to figure out.
What was the number of units?
140 in the first phase, and I want to say 18 to 20,000 square feet of retail on the first floor. Yeah. Significant. Thank you all.